At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Atlanta Braves. Opening week on SNY is brought to you by Burger King. It's been a glorious opening weekend for baseball in New York, and Easter Sunday just as gorgeous as the 2 days that came before. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets finish off their season-opening series against the Atlanta Braves. It has been a great first weekend for the Mets. They've won their first two games for the first time since 2009. On Thursday, Johan Santana took the mound for the first time in 19 months, and he could not have been better with 5 scoreless innings. David Wright provided all the offense the Mets would need with a 6th-inning RBI single, and then the bullpen was front and center. That remade bullpen. Tim Burdack got two huge outs in the 7th. John Roush got the sign in the 8th. And then Frank Francisco, in his first game as closer for the Mets, finished off the Braves for a season-opening win. Then yesterday, R.A. Dickey made his first start of the year. His knuckleball was just good enough. He threw 29 fastballs as well in a 6-inning stint. And the Mets played long ball. David Wright hitting one into the bullpen in right center. Didn't need assistance from the new dimensions. Lucas Duda did. He hit one between the walls for his first home run of the year. And then for good measure, Lucas hit another blast, and no doubter, his first multiple home run game in the major leagues. 6 innings out of Dickey, and then again the bullpen was tremendous. Francisco got his second save in 2 days, and the Mets had themselves 2 straight wins to start the season. Only 5 runs scored for the Mets in these first two wins, but 2 very big offensive performances early on.
Well, we mentioned on opening day that we had the big 4, Wright and Bay as the older players, and Duda and Ike Davis as the younger players having to do it offensively. Well, we got 2 in the kip right now. David Wright is just red hot, sizzling hot. He's driven in a run in each ball game. Hit the home run yesterday, the opposite field. He's 5 for 8. What a sizzling start. And Lucas Duda, after an 0 for 4 on opening day, he had the big day yesterday with the 2 bombs. I mean, 2 rockets, line drive 2 irons in the deepest part of the ballpark. So now let's get Bay going and get Mr. Davis going, and the Mets will be in the driver's seat.
Meanwhile, on the other side, the Mets have gotten good starts from Santana and Dickey, but the big story has been that remade bullpen. They did not pitch well during spring training. They've been great so far.
They really have been. Parnell and Burdack, of course, unscored upon, but even more importantly, the new guys that came over, Ramirez, Roush, and Francisco, have been great with 2 saves by Francisco. So they have been unscored upon, and a big part of the Mets' first 2 wins.
So the Mets try and go for a season-opening sweep against the Braves. John Neese will be on the mound on Easter Sunday in New York. Come on back. All the action today right here on SNY. to you by Burger King, by Citi, preferred card of the Mets, by Lexus, by AT&T, rethink possible, by Budweiser, and by Geico. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets out-of-market game live online and on your favorite devices in HD quality. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Kia. The Tigers scored 10 yesterday. Prince Fielder and Miguel Cabrera each hit 2 home runs in a 10-0 win over the Red Sox. Ubaldo Jimenez postponed his suspension, took a no-hit bid into the 7th, but the Indians lost their 2nd straight extra-inning game to Toronto in 12 innings, 7-4. 49-year-old Jamie Moyer did not become the oldest pitcher in history to win a game, as he was beaten by the Astros 7-3, as Lucas Harrell went 7 scoreless for Houston in their first win of the season. A couple of young left-handers, John Neese and Mike Minor, go head-to-head as the Mets look for the sweep. First pitch coming right up. Michael Bourne takes a strike, and we're underway at Citi Field as John Neese makes his first start of the season. Bourne 2 for 7 in the first 2 games of the year. Both those hits came yesterday, and he tries to bunt his way on and fouls it off. Bourne had 2 hits yesterday. Both went to left field. Last year, Bourne had 63 opposite field hits, the most of anybody in the National League. So it makes sense to play him that way, right? Swing and a miss, and Neese on 3 pitches takes care of Bourne for the first out of the game. There's your Ford starting lineup for the Braves this afternoon. Jack Wilson makes his first start at shortstop. Matt Dye is in there against the left-hander. Martin Prado moves back to third base after playing left field yesterday for a Braves team that has scored only 2 runs in the first 2 games of the season, and going up against John Neese.
Those are the Caesars last year's stats for Jonathan Neese.
Martin Prado takes the fastball wide, and for John, this is his first start since signing a 5-year contract extension with a couple of option years that could take him through 2018 as a Met.
First homegrown left-hander for the Mets to win 10 or more games since Koosman and Matlack won 21 and 17 respectively in 1976.
That is amazing when
right?
you think about it. 36 years between homegrown lefties winning just 10 games.
But it shows you just how important it is for teams to develop their own pitching, and it's something the Mets are putting a premium on, and it's one of the reasons why they have given Nice this long-term deal. He walks Prado on 4 pitches, and the Braves have a 1-out base runner.
Take a look at the Lexus New York Mets defense, and there's Mr. Hairston out in center field today with the left-hander Mike Minor starting for the Braves. Nikias gets a start behind the plate today, his first start also. Everybody else has been in there every game. And there he is right there, coming back from that oblique injury that sidelined him the greater part of spring training.
Here's Brian McCann looking for his first hit of the season, and 5 straight out of the strike zone for Nice. McCann 0 for 7 to start the year.
That's hard to do. Prado only walked 34 times and 551 at bats last year, but very interesting. Nikias is like having another coach on the field. He absolutely knew that Nice got out of his rhythm a little bit, stopped the game, went out, and kind of gave him a breather.
Walks are not generally a problem for Nice. He averaged just 2.5 walks per 9 innings last year as McCann pulls one foul. And you know, you look at Nice and the fact that he's never finished a year strong and effective, and he had a 4.4 ERA last year. But you look beyond those numbers, you look at the strikeout walk ratio, you look at the home run numbers, and those bode well for Nice going forward. As McCann pulls one foul, 1 and 2.
I think you're right. And you also look at some of the high end games he's had, the 1-hit shutouts, the streaks he's gone on where he's literally unhittable for 5, 6, 7, 8 starts. So his whole difference is finishing the season strong and consistency with every one of his starts.
Ahead on McCann, 1 and 2, and the curveball hit out to right field. Duda drifting over and makes the catch on the warning track, and back to first goes Prado, 2 away.
Just got that breaking ball away enough, and Duda handles this nicely. And Lucas has really come a long way defensively. He's worked very hard at it, had a good spring defensively, shows a lot of athleticism, has a strong arm.
And just watching Lucas these first few games out in right field, those foreshortened dimensions out there are really paying off for him. There's less panic there on balls hit over his head because there's a lot less far to go. That ball gets behind Nikias, and Prado moves over to second.
And that's going to be a pass ball right there. Nikias, a very sure gloved catcher. This is unusual right here. Just missed it.
Cutter from Nice. Tolle got a pass ball yesterday. Now Nikias with one. Runner in scoring position for Ugla, and he takes it low. 2-0.
Well, very dangerous hitter here. Middle in hitter. Loves that fastball strong, and he does a number on lefties.
Although last year he had really struggled against lefties, as did the entire Atlanta team. Ugla hit just .202 against left-handed pitching, and the Braves as a team hit just .229 for the full season with a .291 on base percentage against lefties. And the curveball misses inside, 3-1.
And if you watch enough of this game, you just feel like Ugla would be the guy that would absolutely feast on left-handed pitching.
Yes.
He loves the ball in the middle of the plate in.
I would like to, see him get a little closer to the plate against lefties, but he's open stance and he's off the plate a bit, quite a bit.
And Nice walks his second man of the inning. So John, a little out of sync early on in this game. 2 out and 2 on. He's got Freddie Freeman, a left-hand batter, coming up.
He's just overthrowing a little bit right now. You're always going to be a little amped up in your first inning. Sometimes you get that first punch out, it amps you up a little more.
So here's Freeman, 2 for 8 in the first 2 games. Prado at second, Ugla at first with 2 down. Braves trying to jump out to a lead, something they've not had yet this season. And the fastball by Nice, 0-1. Freeman 3 for 7 in his career against Nice. Ground ball, and Murphy has the third hop. Throws out Freeman, side retired. 2 walks and 2 left. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score at Citi Field. A couple of right-hand hitters who had not started a game. Scott Harrison and Mike Nickius both slide into the lineup against Mike Minor.
Well, Mike Minor, #1 pick in 2009. He was the 7th pick that year in the first round, and he was the first of that class to reach the Braves. He's a guy that got a good changeup. Said his breaking ball was good in spring training.
Mets treated him rudely last year. He was 1-0, but boy, he had an ERA of over almost 8.
Ruben Tejada leads off 0 for 6 to start the year. Corners pinch in against Ruben. We have not seen Ruben look to bunt very much in his career, but the Braves nonetheless playing both the infielders right at the edge of the grass.
And the first baseman's got to play in because you've got the left-hander throwing. For the right-hander, you can back off a little more.
It's funny in baseball, the guy who leads off the game, it's almost like you have to come in, you know? It wouldn't matter if you had a guy up there who was a home run hitter batting first, and there's been some guys like that, of course, who were a threat to hit home run. Ricky Henderson, never bunted.
Sure.
Never bunted.
Daniel Murphy on deck, then David Wright. Mets got off to a fast start yesterday with a first-inning home run from Wright. Mets hit 3 home runs yesterday as Minor misses high with the fastball, 93 miles an hour. Mike Minor, a first-round draft pick in 2009, the 7th overall pick for the Braves, coming out of Vanderbilt, where he was a staff mate of David Price.
Of Ruben's first 6 at-bats this year, 5 of his outs have been in the air, and that is something he cannot do. He's got to hit the ball on the ground and line drives.
2-2 from Minor, and he misses wide, so after getting ahead 0-2, he goes to a full count. Walks were a problem in spring training for Minor. He walked 14 batters in 24 innings as he was working more on his curveball. But he is primarily a fastball changeup pitcher.
No, he threw this hard. We saw him last year. He's more like in the 88 to 90 range. Here he's been up to 93 already.
3-2, slugged out to left field. Diaz going back. It's over his head, and it's one hop to the wall. Tejada with his first hit of the season, and it's a leadoff double.
He stays level on this high fastball here, right down the pipe.
Ruben had just 16 extra base hits last year in 328 at bats. But he's got a little more sock to him this year.
When you see him swing the bat like that, that's why you're reminded that he could be an offensive player like Polanco someday.
So here's Daniel Murphy, 3 for 8 to start the year, looking for his first run batted in. And he takes at the knees for a strike.
Well, there's your contact right there. And that is right down the pipe around letter high. Just covers it.
3-2, you know it's coming.
You know, that could have been a Coors Light freeze cam.
Oh.
Murphy grounds one to the right side. That'll advance Tejada. Uggla makes the backhand play and throws him out. So a productive out for Murphy moves Tejada over to third.
And the Coors Light Atlanta Brave defense. And Freddie Freeman last year, what a rookie season he had. Played 159 games. You see that. Hayward is the other guy out there that they've got to get him on a comeback this year. The Gold Glover in center, and Bourne. Prado at third base today. His second start at third.
So here's David Wright, who's off to a rollicking start. 5 for 8. A home run. He's driven in a run in each game. Now just 6 RBIs behind Darryl Strawberry for the career Mets club record. Infield back, and Wright takes away for ball 1. Last year was an aberration in so many ways for David. He missed 2 months of the season because of the back injury, but as much as anything else, an aberration in that he did not hit lefties last year, something that he could do in his sleep for the first 7 years of his career.
I just felt David last year was just kind of mentally worn down at the end of the year. And he just, you know, it's a new season. Started out with that rib and the high oblique strain, but he's ready to go and refreshed.
He rips that one foul.
Well, the other thing that I see, Keith, and just physically change. Watch when the ball is about to come and see the runs batted in, career leaders like Gary was just mentioning. Watch how his hands and his front shoulder are kind of, like Davis on deck, kind of pointed closer to the plate, closer to the pitcher. It's almost like he's opening towards the pitcher. See how they're coming a little closer and down?
His hands are a little lower.
Yeah.
Because he had a lot of movement in his take back and he was getting beat with fastballs. Well, right now, even the balls he's hitting foul are hit hard.
David's looked at a lot of video from the heyday of his career. And he made a conscious effort to try and get back to where he was back in that 2006, 2007 era.
And they did the same thing. Now see the take back right here. There's not a whole lot of wasted motion. And Dave Hudgens, I give him credit. He also did the same with Ike Davis. He had Ike Davis last year drop his hands. Get a shorter take back.
3-2 to right, and he checks his swing and a foul ball.
Boy, he just lucky to get a piece of that. He got full. It was a nasty breaking ball. Wow. It's like, thank you, I'm still on the at bat. Gosh, if you're a pitcher, you're going, shoot.
Good hitters seem to foul off those pitches, don't they?
So a lot of credit goes to that guy with the two hitters, Wright and Davis.
It's made tremendous strides last year offensively under Dave Hudgens. And Wright hits it out to center field. That'll get the run in. Bourne moves over to grab it. Tejada tags at third and walks on in with the first run of the game. David Wright with a sacrifice fly, and it's 1-0 New York. So Wright has now driven in a run in each of the first 3 games of the season. Tejada leading off with a double. Murphy a productive out, and Wright the same. And the Mets put one on the board early. Now Ike Davis with 2 out and nobody on. Looks for his first hit of the season.
No, Ike 0 for 8 on the start of this year. A left-hander might be good for him. He make him stay in. He has a great approach to left-hand pitchers. He stays in. It forces you to wait. He's been a little out in front.
Threw the fastball by him, and it's 0-1.
Sometimes when I slumped, Gary, I preferred to face a left-hander because I was out in front, flying my shoulder out, and I faced a left-hander. It made me stay in.
And that fastball caught the plate, and it's 0-2. Minor made 15 starts last year, a couple of those against the Mets. In fact, he's faced the Mets 4 times in a very short span over the last 2 seasons. 2-0, but as Keith mentioned, a high ERA, 6.75.
Good breaking ball right there, missed. But again here, watch, you folks at home, watch Ike's hand positioning as he gets in his stance. His hands are much lower than they were when he first came up.
And he went around, strike 3.
Oh, boy.
So Ike is punched out by the home plate umpire Phil Cuzzy on a half swing. But the Mets tally a run in the opening inning. Wright drives in Tejada, and it's 1-0 New York. Matt Diaz will lead off for Atlanta, getting the start in left field today against the lefty, and he takes the curveball in the dirt for ball one.
Boy, I tell you what, Frank Francisco struck out Diaz to end the ball game yesterday, Ronnie. He came inside that 2-2 fastball and just threw it right by him.
Ball and a strike to Diaz. Jason Hayward and Josh Wilson to follow. Jack Wilson to follow for the Braves. Below the knees, 2-1. The Braves were a struggling offensive team last year, and never more so than right at the end of the year when their playoff chances slipped away. Last year they scored just 7 runs in their last 5 games, and now here they've scored just 2 runs in their first 2 games. So a team that made no changes, no substantial changes to their offensive outlook, continues to show signs of wear as far as their offense is concerned. Of course, they're missing one of their top guns in Chipper Jones, who should be back sometime this week.
And really, Chipper is their number 3 hitter in that lineup, and McCann is not a number 3 hitter. And anytime I don't care how old Chipper is, and ball 4 again here, the 3rd walk.
3rd walk and 6 batters for Nice to start the game.
It's just hard to find. You just can't go to a grocery store and say, I'll take a 6-pack of Chipper Jones.
My number 1 pick is going to be a switch hitter who's going to hit in the middle of the lineup for 15 or 16 years, and he's going to produce Hall of Fame numbers. It just doesn't happen. And being in the middle of that lineup, he had a lot of great hitters when they were making their division title run of those 14 years. But now younger players around him.
Well, there you go.
Well, he's been a mainstay for the Braves for the better part of 2 decades. This is going to be his final season, and the last couple of years Chipper's missed substantial time because of all sorts of minor aches and pains and a couple of knee surgeries along the way, and he's trying to get back as quickly as he can because he understands how much this team relies on him. But I don't think that you can make the assumption that he's going to be in there for 145, 150 games this year. As Hayward fouls one off the mask of Nickius, and it's 1-2. And that makes things more difficult for an Atlanta team that just doesn't have the big bombers. You were talking about, he used to have Fred McGriff next to him in the lineup, or Terry Pendleton, or
Galarraga,
Andrew Jones,
right?
David Justice,
Sid Bream, whoever it might have been,
Lopez,
right? And they've got some, some decent major league hitters in this lineup, but can they survive over a full season not knowing how much they're going to get out of Chipper Jones? And you certainly then look ahead to after this year when Chipper retires.
Well, they did make one move. They did, by subtraction, they got rid of their shortstop.
Potential double play ball. Murphy can't make the turn, and they do call it out at second base. They lost the ball on the exchange, and so Hayward's safe at first. First double play opportunity, and the Mets failed to turn it over.
Well, you're right, Garrett. It's all in the exchange. Murph was there. He didn't really he was late getting to the bag, and his momentum, he's not squared to make the throw. He's stepping towards home plate, and he knew he couldn't make the throw there.
And the jury's out. They're going after him.
Yep. Well, of course, it was the Braves that took Murphy out last year. Jose Constanza made the slide that tore his ACL and knocked him out for the season.
It was Murph's knee in front of the bag, but it was definitely a late slide from Constanza.
So here's Jack Wilson making his first start of the season. Tyler Pasternicki, the rookie, started the first 2 games at shortstop. Wilson, the former Pirate, split last year between Seattle and then late in the season with Atlanta. Now 34 years old.
We're talking about Chipper. I guess what you're hoping is that Hayward comes out of the funk that he's been in for a year and a half, and that his swan song is going to be amazing for Chipper. I guess that's what Braves fans are hoping.
Well, the other piece is I think that the the Braves have put a lot of stock in Brian McCann as being a front and center offensive player. And, you know, McCann has had a very good first half dozen years in the major leagues. But is he the kind of guy who can carry your offense?
Well, I don't think so. I look at him as more of a, you know, when he's as hot as anyone, but I like him as a fifth or sixth hitter.
Yes.
I don't see him as a third place hitter kind of guy.
Or a cleanup.
Wilson just got a piece.
You know, we're talking about a guy that's been a 6-time All-Star. You know, he's had a fine career, but
catching takes its toll, and he's been a guy that's had to catch 140 games a year, 135 games a year.
I mean, there are very few guys who can carry the load defensively as a catcher and still be, you know, the best or second best hitter on your ball club.
Listen, he was considered the best player on the planet. He did it for 2 years, Joe Mauer. And, you know, it's taken its toll on him. But they've considered a position change.
Of course, the Mets had Mike Piazza controlling their offense for nearly 7 years. Broken back grounder, right charging. His only play will be to first in time to get Wilson for the second out. Hayward moves up to second.
Well, he gets right in his kitchen. Wright comes in and charges hard. Wasn't sure if he had a play at second. Hayward runs pretty well, but he definitely gave it a look.
I like that play. If you're not sure, get an out,
especially with the pitcher on deck.
Smart.
And Minor, not much of a hitter, 3 for 37 in his career, looking for his first major league RBI. And he grounds one to short. Tejada's got it on the backhand. So Nice gets 3 ground balls after the leadoff walk and keeps a 1-0 lead in the middle of the second. Jason Bay will lead off. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. We're talking about the Braves. Freddie Gonzalez now in his second year with Atlanta. And we've, as a group, identified some of the keys to the Braves season. Of course, they blew a huge lead to lose out on the wild card to the Cardinals last year. Jason Hayward, big question mark after a great rookie year and a poor sophomore year. Freddie Freeman, his running mate, hoping to have that breakthrough year. And the bullpen, which carried them most of last year, can they be as good after all those innings last season?
Well, they were almost perfect in that bullpen last season. Maybe wore down a little towards the end of the season, but for Freddie Gonzalez, I think after any kind of collapse, it's real important that you get off to a better start in April. They've gotten off to, of course, an 0-2. Too early to talk about that.
Jason Bay 1 for 7 to start the year. Lucas Duda and Scott Hairston to follow here in the second against Mike Minor. Well, I think the interesting thing about bouncing back from the collapse, and we have experience having watched the Mets come back in 08 after their their historic collapse in 2007. And if you remember, the Mets won their first 4 games the next year. It's not really until you get back into the heart of the race, I think, that it becomes that psychological barrier.
Precisely.
It's like missing free throws at the end of the game in a playoff game. You don't know if you're going to miss them again until you're in the last minute. Not the free throws you have in the first
strike
quarter.
3 called, and Bay is out on strikes.
That's a pretty wicked curveball right there.
Well, no team had ever lost a lead as large as the Braves and the Red Sox did last year. The Mets, of course, had a 7-game lead with 17 to play in 07. The Braves and Red Sox last year had those leads earlier in the month, but nonetheless, it was a collapse like the 07 Mets of historic proportions. As Lucas Duda takes a strike. Duda coming off 2 home runs yesterday. His first career multiple home run game, and you wonder what's the expectation when you talk about home runs for a guy like Duda playing his first full year. Can you put a number on that? I mean, he hit 10 home runs in basically half a season last year.
I think you can put a low ceiling on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how high he can go, but I expect Lucas on a full season to hit at least 20 home runs.
You'd be shocked if he didn't hit 20, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's his ceiling? I don't know. He's got a whole. He's yet to play a full year. But boy, he's awfully strong. And Ralph Kiner, our partner, and I, from the get-go, liked his swing even when he was struggling. He's just got a very nice swing, and has always shown a good eye at the plate, patience, and I like the way he gets up to the plate against left-handers. He stays in. So to me, he's not a platoon player. He's a guy that plays every day. You run him up there against left-handers.
Now, size-wise and maybe patience-wise, would you compare him to an Adam Dunn? Is that a fair comparison?
No, it's too early. He's got.
I'm not talking about what he's going to be, but what he potentially could be. Is he that type of player to you?
I think he's a better hitter.
I think he could be a better
hitter, better average.
Strike 3 called. Minor back-to-back strikeouts, both looking against Bay and Duda.
He's got his curveball working, Ronnie.
Yeah, this is the breaking ball that he worked on all of spring training, and we haven't really even seen his changeup yet. Now these two have locked up both Bay and Duda.
Now that wasn't a real great breaking ball, but he's thrown better ones. But that one just completely tied up Lucas. So back to your point, Gary, I think that he's a better hitter than Adam Dunn.
Higher average hitter.
Yes.
Here's Scott Hairston with 2 out, and he takes a strike.
So it'll be fun to watch his improvement, hopefully, as he gets experience as the years go by. It's a tremendous upside for him.
It's a fascinating story to watch. A kid who, 3 years ago was not even on the radar as far as prospect status. Big kid out of USC who had never really shown a lot of power, and now has his offense has grown into his body, and his clear strength is being transmitted into hitting home runs.
Those big guys from USC tend to do well in this league.
Yeah, but those other guys all pitched at USC, right? Kingman and McGuire. 1 and 2 to Harrison.
When I look at Duda as a guy that used to have to face guys like a Duda, he has an incredibly short stroke for a big man. I think that's where it changes. Usually those big guys that generate the power have a lot of holes. I wouldn't say that about Lucas. And also, real power. Yesterday we saw it. When a guy doesn't even have to elevate the baseball, his line drives go out of a ballpark, that's pretty impressive.
Magnicki is hitting 8th in the order on deck.
All right, Lucas, we're done.
He doesn't like to talk a whole lot.
Got to give that gum. That gum's getting tortured. He's all over it.
1-2 from Minor, and Hairston pops one up. And Freddie Freeman calling. Puts it away. A strong inning for Mike Minor. Sets the Mets down 1-2-3. On to the third we go. John Neese back to the mound with a 1-0 lead. Wednesday afternoon when the Mets host the Nationals. Mets in Pix 11 are celebrating with prices rolled back on a limited number of tickets to the 1962 reserve price of $2.50. Visit Mets.com/Mets birthday for your tickets.
Nice.
$2.50 and you get to see Santana and Strasburg. That's not bad. Michael Bourne leading off in the third inning. Bourne struck out on 3 pitches his first time up, and Neese quickly has him in an 0-2 hole. John has walked 3 first time through the batting order, struck out only 1. Prado and McCann to follow for the Braves here in the third.
How about this? 3 day games in a row. How sweet.
You wouldn't have said that 25 years ago.
I wonder how the players feel. I know I talked to David Wright. David prefers the night game.
Yeah.
Even this time of year?
I didn't ask him specifically, but he just said he prefers the night games. And I can understand why. You get in a groove. Laredo.
Neese going sidearm to get Bourne. And that's the first out of the inning. We saw John do this a number of times during spring training against left-hand batters.
This is almost not fair. Drops down and throws that big hook. Starts behind Bourne and breaks over the middle of the plate.
Well, definitely a sneak attack right here. You got to file that one for future reference.
So Neese has 2 strikeouts, both against Bourne. Now he takes on Prado, who walked his first time up, and he takes a strike.
Watching David Cohn for all those years, who had that specialty of dropping down. You have to be able to drop down and throw a fastball from that area too, so it keeps the hitter guessing.
David had it all, didn't he? He
was great.
Boy, what an acquisition that was.
He could throw the kitchen sink at you, couldn't he?
He could throw bullets too, and wasn't afraid to throw a fastball.
But even as he got later in his career and couldn't throw as hard, he could whip out any pitch at any time.
Yeah, he was not the equivalent, but he was Tiant-like.
I was just about to say Tiant. That's exactly right. He even sometimes did that full turn towards second base
and then hold it.
Exactly,
like the Karate Kid or whatever he was trying to.
The Karate Kid.
Well, he had that one.
I'm thinking wax on, wax off.
Cobra Kai, Gary. Cobra Kai.
2-2 to Prado with McCann on deck. And he got him on the outside corner.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Nice to start the third inning. And Prado lingers to discuss it. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. So 2 out of nobody on. Now Brian McCann, and he fouls one off.
I think Prado thinks this ball's high. Well, too close right there.
Nikias does a very nice job framing it.
Say that.
Oh, nice.
McCann badly fooled up and in, and it's 0-2. McCann 0 for 8 to start the season. Now in a 2-strike hole.
See how Nikias stands up like that when he wants the ball up? He can do that. Good thing to do also, don't forget, stand up and then sit down and have the curveball thrown. So they never know what's going to come. I see a hook here.
John Nice, now 25 years old. 7th round pick by the Mets out of high school in Ohio in 2005. Just missed to McCann. Now the 2-2. Came inside. It's a foul ball from McCann. Dan Uggla would be next. Seventh pitch of the at bat to McCann, and he gets him with a high fastball. John Nice strikes out the side in the third inning. Nice is rolling in his first start of the year. 1-0 Mets in the third. Nothing. Mike Nikias will lead things off against Mike Minor. Mets got a run in the first. Ruben Tejada led off with a double. That's been the only hit of the game. Murphy and Wright brought him around with a couple of outs. Minor had a strong second inning, now facing Nikias to start the third, and Mike takes a letter high strike, 0-1. Mike Nikias winning the job as the backup catcher in spring training. He was the favorite to do that all the way after the work he did defensively for the Mets last year.
Terry Collins likes Mike Nikias, likes his determination, his work ethic. He worked on him to kind of shorten up his swing a little bit. He hasn't got the fastest of bats, so they're just trying to get him to try to get that bat out there squared up.
Pulls one down to third. Prado on the back end makes the long throw right on target, one away. Well, last year the Mets had a very different kind of backup catcher. They had Ronnie Polino, who was much more of an offensive threat. And I don't know if you saw the box score from yesterday. Polino's now in Baltimore. Remember Polino's first game with the Mets last year? He got 5 hits against the Phillies. Well, he played his first game for Baltimore yesterday, went 4 for 4.
Talk about first impressions.
Exactly. You can live off that for a couple of months.
Well, you know, in fact, last year, Nikias was able to stay up occasionally because they wanted to use Paulino not as a catcher really, but as a pinch hitter off the bench.
Well, also Paulino had a suspension he had to serve at the beginning of the season, so that gave Nikias some opportunities. And I guess my point is that when you think about the role of the backup catcher, what you want from that guy probably depends on what the rest of your team is composed of. In other words, if you have a good offensive team, you can better afford to carry a guy like Nikias, who's more of a defensive specialist.
Seemed in our day, Keith, you always had a left-handed catcher on the bench with a little pop.
Yep.
And they were good defensively, wouldn't hit for high average. You know, those gamer kind of guys.
You always had the 3 catchers.
Yeah,
you know, one was a defensive guy and the other guy was a hitter.
That's the thing. Roster composition has changed so much because you have to carry so many more pitchers now.
It was like
strike 3 called and Nice is out. That's the 4th strikeout for Minor.
In the old Oakland A's teams, and then when they won the championships in the 70s, they had the hitting Gene Tennis.
Yeah.
And then they had Dave Duncan. Really, Duncan had a great rookie year, and then was a .230 hitter the rest of the way.
Well, there was the one year that I think Dick Williams was managing the A's, and they had 4 second basemen.
That's right.
And he pinch hit for them every time they came up.
Dick Green was
Mike Anderson.
Mike Andrews.
Andrews, sorry.
Right.
Andrews.
But you could do that in those days. You could carry 7 bench guys, sometimes even 8 bench guys, because you didn't need to have 12 pitchers on your staff. Here's Tejada with 2 out and nobody on.
It helped to have Catfish Hunter, Vita Blue, who all gave you around 500 plus innings total, the 2 of them, and you had Chuck Dobson, Blue Moon Odom, and Ken Holtzman. Well, there was a wicked left-hander if you ever saw one, Ron. What a hook he had, Holtzman.
And he wouldn't look at you.
Oh,
he had that motion where he kind of looked behind him. You never see anything but his number until that left arm came lashing around.
He had as good a curveball as anybody I ever faced. And he got me out.
Now Minor's 1-1, and Tejada hits this one in the air to center. Easy for Bourne as he comes in. And so it's a 1-2-3 for Minor. He's now retired 9 in a row, but the Mets have a 1-0 lead after 3. by the Intrepid, sitting on the west side. It's a great place to go with your kids. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., former Met Bud Harrelson stops by the studio to chat with Jonas Schwartz and Joe Beningo about his new autobiography. Plus, hear his thoughts on the 2012 team on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. Be interesting to read Buddy's take on his life and career. Dan Uggla fouls one off, and Nice has him in a 2-strike hole.
Well, he's a Sacramento guy, wasn't he?
No, he was Hayward.
Hayward? Oh.
Went to San Francisco State.
Hayward, right at the East Bay.
East Bay, right over the San Mateo Bridge.
Pixar's. That's where Pixar is now.
Freddie Freeman on deck, then Matt Diaz for the Braves in the 4th. And Uggla watches just outside, 1-2. Well, you know, Buddy was my favorite player growing up. So
you always had number 3?
Always had number 3. When I could get it. Sometimes you have to be aggressive to get number 3.
I'm sure it was probably very popular, right?
They bring those uniforms out, they throw them in a pile. Everybody grab one. Sometimes you got to elbow somebody out of the way to get the number you want.
I think you being an aggressive is not a problem. I can see it easily happening.
2-2 from Nice. And he goes low and away with the fastball, and a full count to Uggla. John walked 3 of the first 6 batters to face him, but now he's retired 6 in a row, striking out the side in the 3rd. 3-2 to Uggla, and he got him on the outside corner. Phil Cuzzi ringing up Uggla, 4 straight strikeouts for Nice.
He's going to have a few words for him. This ball's outside.
Oh yes. Well, he held the glove. Let's see. Ball. Giving you that call, Ron. You start to keep throwing it out there.
Living out there.
There's your umpiring crew for today. Phil Cuzzi has the plate. Young Vic Carapazza at first. Jerry Davis, the crew chief, and Eric Cooper rounding out the crew as Freeman takes inside. Ronnie, it's the first game for Nice after signing the big contract yesterday, press conference and all that. Is there any added weight on a guy that first day out? It doesn't appear as though he's pitching that way today.
Well, I think he had a little bit of the adrenaline working early, but that's always going to be in your first start of a new season. Listen, there was a lot of thought put into this, and I think John is a very unassuming guy. He's not a guy that toots his own horn. He's a guy that just kind of wants to be humble and take the ball every 5th day. So I would think for his personality, no. You know, but it could be family members shopping for homes in Ohio as we speak. but other than that, I think that, you know, they put a lot of careful thought into, is this the right personality to give that kind of contract to? And I think it is.
Freeman gets jammed, and Wright throws him out. And that's 8 in a row now for Nice.
That's just good pitching right there. Ahead in the count, got ahead away, and then pounded him with 2 strikes on the inside corner. Just tied him up.
What about you, Keith? I mean, you during your career signed a couple of long-term deals. Is there an added piece of pressure once you sign that deal to show that you deserve that contract?
Yes, of course. You always want to live up to it. I always found the most difficult year in both 5-year deals that I signed was the 3rd year, because you're right in the middle. And for some reason, psychologically, and maybe it just pertains to me and how I thought, it was always the toughest year. Then you got to the 4th year, it was like you're on the backside. It was like getting out of August and the dog days for me, you know, and getting into September. But I certainly felt the pressure, particularly Gary coming here.
To center field, and in comes Hairston to dive and make the catch. Hairston a little bit hesitant, but picks off the line drive by Diaz to keep the Braves without a hit. Nice play by Hairston. 1-0 Mets. Daniel Murphy leads off the home fourth inning and takes a strike from Mike Minor. So both these young left-handers have retired 9 in a row now. Mets getting their run in the first inning before Minor could blink. Murphy had a hand in that with an advancing ground out, and he takes it wide 1-1. Much discussion today with Terry Collins about the future composition of his batting order. With Kirk Neuenhuis called up to play against right-handers, the Mets will have 5 left-hand hitters in the lineup. And ideally, you'd like to spread those guys out as Murphy fouls it back. And, one way you could do that would be to move Duda ahead of Bay in the batting order. But the other thing that Terry said was a possibility is he might hit Neuenhuis leadoff.
I know there's been some talk about that. I am not against that. I think, early in his career, although it didn't happen in spring training this year, he'd always been a guy they said that had a good eye, a good on-base percentage guy. It was over 400 last year. I know it was only 53 games.
Murphy lines one into right center for a base hit. Hayward cuts it off deep, so Murphy will go to second, and he is in standing with a leadoff double. Of course, that's the other guy you could hit leadoff, but Murphy has found a home in that 2-hole.
I think the 2-hole is good for Murph. Not a good pitch. Right down the middle, made a mistake. Murph right up at the plate. Beautiful line drive, short stroke.
Second double of the season for Murphy, who's 4 for 10 to start the year. He's in scoring position for David Wright. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
I had a conversation today with Dave Hudgens about David Wright and what are some of the changes that he has done. And you guys touched on it his first at bat. And Hudgens told me as soon as the season ended last year, he told David there are 2 things he wants to see him make the adjustment. Number 1 is lowering his hands. The other one, he said he felt his leg kick got a little bit out of control. With the hands, guys, the way Hudgens explained it, and I'm sure we'll show it on the video, but he said he got to the point where he was way, way up here. And, his swing would be the same at the very end, but he said there was so much going on by the time he actually got to the swing, it was too much to recover from. And he said the leg kick was fine, but it got so high. And he said, I don't know if that was to try and generate power, but it just didn't work for him. Hudgens said that's all he did was to tell Wright that. Again, he was way up here, so now he has him more down here. And Hudgens and Dave had the conversation. Wright in the offseason did these changes by himself, and when he got to spring, Hudgens noticed the difference, so much so he went back and looked at Wright's first ever hits, and he said, you know what, it looked the same. He said the thing is with David is when he gets in the cage, he likes to stay in there and tinker. So I've tried to come up with a routine, a strict routine that prevents that. Guys?
Well, you know what, too, Kev? That is not a major adjustment. It's not tinkering with the fundamentals of the swing. It's just changing your position, how you're holding your hands. And to me, that's a minor adjustment. You can't revamp a swing. It's difficult to revamp. But just bringing the hands down, that's all the difference in the world. Oh, good pitch there.
Minor catching the inside corner with that cutter, and it's 2-2.
Well, that's the hardest thing about being a hitting coach, isn't it? The good ones work around the foundation of what you have to do to hit the baseball, but also around everyone's individual swing.
It's much like golf hitting. You want to square that club up to the golf ball, and you want to square that bat up to the ball coming in, the moving object.
And isn't it also, though, especially with a guy like Wright and what Kevin was talking about, just uncomplicating things and getting back to the essence of his swing without all that extra movement?
Well, it's all the take back. When you're holding your hands up high, then you got to bring the hands down and back. And instead now when your hands are already at the plane, the level right there, now all you're doing is going back with your hands, not having to come down and go back. That's an extra motion, an extra movement. And that's why David was tardy a lot the last, year and a half.
Keith, what would constitute a major adjustment? I mean, you talked about the tinkering and how it all leads to the eventual swing, which stays the same. What would be a major adjustment that you can make there?
Well, to me, a major adjustment,
as David draws the walk and the Mets have 2 men on,
would be a guy that's a closed stance hitter, turning him into an open hitter, open stance hitter. That to me is changing his whole approach and how he used to hit, or vice versa. But as far as moving, if you move someone closer to the plate, Kev, or up in front of the box or deeper in the box or further away from the plate, or what David has done and Ike, who's lowered his hands. Those are minor adjustments.
So now Murphy and Wright aboard with nobody out. Ike Davis struck out his first time up. Ike now 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts to start the season. But a chance to do some damage here against Minor, who had retired 9 in a row before this inning. And he floats one off the outside corner, ball 1. Jason Bay hitting 5th in the order, waiting on deck. And Ike takes that slider off the plate, and Minor behind 2-0.
It's always interesting to watch young pitchers. No one on base, very aggressive, going right after the hitters. Get guys on base. Can they stay as aggressive?
He's missed with 2 sliders. He's 2-0. Runners on first and second, nobody out. Boy, oh boy, fastball away.
Minor driving Murphy back to the bag. Minor's a pitcher with very little major league experience, and he rocketed through the minor leagues after coming out of Vanderbilt. This is only his 24th major league start. Behind on Davis, 2-0, and Ike swings and misses. 2 balls and a strike.
Only got his fastball away. Ike just threw that one by him. Surprising on a fastball count. Still advantage hitter here. Pitcher in trouble.
Ike asks for time as a napkin floats by.
Can't have any distractions.
You don't get airplane brakes anymore. And that just missed. 3-1.
Well, same thing here. He's going to stay away. Pitcher right here is afraid to give up a 3-run bomb, and all of a sudden the ball game's blown open, 4-0. So they're going to stay away.
That brings up a very interesting question that I'll ask you after this pitch. Here's the 3-1 from Minor. Yeah, that's too high. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded. Ronnie, do you think that pitchers get a look at the fences as they're now configured and will pitch more cautiously in this ballpark in situations like this?
Well, I think, as Roger McDowell is, of course, going to come out to speak to Minor. Yeah, I think there's a part of you that when you came to Citi Field, if you were the opposing pitcher or even the Mets pitcher, and you got to a 2-0 count, you said, boy, I'm just going to throw it on the outside part of the plate, let them hit it to center field, and if they can hit it over the apple, then tip my hat. But that gives you a great thing in your back pocket to be able to go to every time that you get behind. But you saw Minor there a little more careful because Ike has some pop to left center, and if he gets it up, he can hit it easily over that fence. Now, not easily, but if he centers it, it definitely can go out.
And another thing, too, Gary, what I've seen early in this Met lineup with Tejada, Murphy, Wright, Davis, and Duda, they're all very selective hitters. They make the pitchers work.
So now Bay gets an opportunity with the bases loaded and nobody out. Took a call third strike his first time up and swings and taps the first one foul. That's hit 3 grand slams last year, and Jason had 2 of them. Has 4 grand slams for his career. Lucas Duda on deck. That's with a chance to add to their 1-0 lead here in the 4th. A double by Murphy and back-to-back walks to Wright and Davis. And Bate takes one of the dirt, stopped by McCann, 1-1. Murphy at third, being cautious as McCann blocks this one.
McCann has been pretty spotless this series back there, blocking balls. He's very adept.
Infield back for the Braves. They'll be willing to concede a run to turn 2, and Bay lofts one foul. Just waiting for some positive sign from Jason Bay. We didn't see him drive the ball all spring, and we have not seen him drive the ball yet. Now Miners ahead 1-2. And Bay drives one to left field. Tagging at third is Murphy. Diaz makes the catch. Murphy heads home. The throw is cut off. The toss to third, and now Wright is tagged out.
Oh, boy.
A sacrifice fly for Jason Bay, but David Wright trying to go from second to third on a ball easily cut off. And they turn two.
Well, a very rare base running blunder by David. It plays in front of him, and okay, if it's going to be over the cutoff man's head, yes. He knows he made a mistake here. I don't know what he was thinking here. He makes the right move at tagging. Now, if the ball is thrown over the cutoff man's head, but he didn't even, he just took off right away.
Yeah. So the double play goes 7-5-6. It's a sacrifice fly for Bay to bring home Murphy and give the Mets a 2-0 lead. Now 2 out and a runner at first for Duda.
The only read that he could have made a mistake with there, as Duda pops up, is that maybe he thought it was so shallow that Diaz would definitely have a play on Murphy, but Diaz does not throw very well.
So Minor escapes, giving up just the 1 run, and the Mets take a 2-0 lead into the 5th. Their series against Ryan Zimmerman. Hayward grounded into a force play his first time up, and tops one to third. David Wright right there to play it, and throws out Hayward, one away. So 1 out and nobody on. Jack Wilson coming up. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, guys, Greg Walker is the new hitting coach of the Atlanta Braves, and so is Scott Fletcher. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but they're not the first team to imply kind of a two-headed hitting coach monster, if you will. Those two guys were actually teammates on the '83 White Sox, so they've known each other for an awful long time. Walker was the hitting coach for the White Sox for the last 8 years, and you know, I asked him what his philosophy is in a couple of ways here. And first of all, he said, you know, I'm aggressive. I want to be aggressive. Now, some people talked about that and said, well, that means go up and swing at the first pitch. It's not what I'm talking about. But, you know, I guess I'm the opposite of Moneyball. I don't like to sit back and take all those pitches. As Tejada will make the play, and Jonathan Nice continues to cruise. He said, I want guys to go up there when they get their pitch to be very aggressive on. He said, now, as far as having a separate guy just to do video, Scott does all the video. He'll look ahead and scout the opponent, and he'll watch all of our guys. Then I'll go in and do the same exact thing, and we kind of compare notes. We are on the same page. That's very important. We're partners in this, but I do think it's good to have two sets of eyes looking at the same thing. Now, during the game, it's Fletcher back in the clubhouse looking at the video. If he sees something, he may go out to Walker and vice versa. So they kind of work in tandem with Walker watching watching the field, Fletcher behind the scenes watching on video. Guys,
it is very unusual these days to have a team with a hitting philosophy that does not emphasize on base percentage. Last year, the Braves finished 14th in the National League in on base percentage and 10th in runs scored. 1-2 to Minor. So to hear a hitting coach say, I don't really care so much about that, is very odd in this day and age.
It's a good way, usually not to get hired in this day and age, but he's got the combo with Fletcher, who I played against. He was a big on base percentage guy. He would just work him, choked up.
Well, good player. I think too much coaching going on. It'd drive me crazy. Someone coming out and saying, we saw the videotape your last at bat. Oh, you know what? Leave me alone.
Minor goes down on strikes. Nice has retired 12 in a row, and he's held the Braves hitless through 5. Halfway through, 2-0 New York. Remember, you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Mets play their first night game tomorrow night, welcoming the Nats for the first of 3. And after that's done, they head to Philly for their first road trip of the year. Philadelphia and Atlanta on the itinerary starting on Friday night. Scott Hairston will lead off for the Mets in the home 5th inning. Mets with a 2-0 lead. Sacrifice flies by David Wright and Jason Bay producing the 2 runs. Hairston popped up his first time up, and he takes a strike from Mike Minor. Minor had his first really difficult inning in the 4th, got helped out on a base running mistake by David Wright. Otherwise, it could have gone a lot worse for him than allowing just 1 run in that 4th. And Hairston takes just inside 1-1. Lower third of the order, Hairston, Nickius, and Nice to bat for the Mets in the bottom of the 5th. Mets have had just 2 hits, but they've both been leadoff doubles, and they've both come around to score.
Minor with that little cutter, that's a nice pitch for him also. This kid has a real chance.
It's interesting because he's thrown that more than he's thrown the curveball that he supposedly worked so hard on in spring training.
And we also haven't seen a lot of changeups. I mean, last year when we watched him, it was about 50-50 with his fastball and changeup.
He's had a good fastball today. Seen him hit 93 on the gun several times. He's ahead on Hairston 1-2.
Well, he just pounding him inside with that cutter.
What do you say? He's in the kitchen rattling the pots and pans.
Yes. It's like, get out of my cocina.
Now the 1-2. And there's that curveball low and inside. Hairston getting his first start of the year. Just happy to be playing after his season ended last year and his spring training was delayed this year by an oblique injury. McCann coming back near the screen and runs out of room.
I was going to say McCann was going to set a record. That would have been the second foul pop you would have caught in this series. I mean, that just does not happen here.
Very little distance between home plate and the backstop. And that's really the norm. Have you seen the foul territory in the new Miami ballpark?
I have not.
There's virtually none.
Wow.
On either line. The outfield is large, which helps the pitchers, but foul territory is non-existent.
Oh.
And Minor strikes out Hairston for the first out of the inning. That's 5 strikeouts now for Mike Minor.
Another cutter, Ronnie.
He just has a lot on the baseball. I don't remember him throwing this hard, but it was at the end of the year last year, right by a good fastball hitter in Hairston.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Mike Nickius, who grounded out to third his first time up. John Neese on deck.
It was interesting when Keith was talking before about he wouldn't want people coming up and talking to him during the game. You have to put it in context. In between innings, Keith and I were talking about managers and coaches we played for in the minor leagues that would go the whole summer without talking to you. And I'm not kidding. They would go the whole summer. Didn't get 2 words. Just how it was.
Nope. Today you have hitting coaches in the minor leagues, every team, pitching coaches. When I came up, there was just the manager, and you had the hitting coordinator, who was Joe Mebb, would come around maybe once
a month.
Not once a month, once every 2 months for a homestand. And the pitching coach would come once every 2 months and stick around for a 10-day homestand.
Nicky is down on the fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts for Minor to start the 5th. Well, so you get into a slump in the minor leagues. Who do you talk to?
Well, you just take your batting practice, and your manager. My manager was Roy Matika, and he never made it to the big leagues. And he was a fielder, a middle infielder. You just worked on it, but I just think it's going to be paralysis by analysis. It can be a positive, it can be a negative. I mean, I've said it before. If I'm an 18-year-old kid in the Florida State League and just 1 year out of high school and I'm struggling and I got a coach wanting to change me, I can't say no to him. You get in his bad side, he'll go back and tell the scouting, the head of the farm director that you're trouble. You never know. And you got a label on your back and you're in big trouble.
Well, you can be trouble. Neese strokes one the other way, and that hits the line. It's a fair ball. The shortstop Wilson goes out to play it to keep Neese from having any notion of going to second. So John Neese, who had just 3 hits all of last year, pokes one over the third base bag for a 2-out single.
Well, John swings a decent bat, and that's a flat slider, and that stays in the same plane. And that just hits the chalk, doesn't it? Ooh,
maybe not.
Whoa.
Eric Cooper, the third base umpire, who's right on top of it.
Well, he called it foul first, and then he called it fair, so he was confused.
No argument from the Braves, and particularly from Martin Prado, who was closest to the play. So the Mets have their 3rd hit of the game, and here's Ruben Tejada, who doubled and scored the first run back in the opening inning. Well, by popular demand, we have unveiled the Coors Light Freeze Cam.
Is this what, our 5th one of the season? 6th?
What do you think?
I don't know.
Did that ball catch any part of the line?
Let's see. Whoa. Very close.
Right. Goop, you got it right.
Neese will take it. off the inside edge, and it's 1-1. Daniel Murphy would be next. Mets have won the first 2 games and lead today with a minimum of offense. Mets scored just 5 runs in the first 2 games and 2 more today. And Tejada's got a base hit. So Rubin with his second hit of the day chases Nice to second, and the Mets have 2 on and 2 out for Murphy.
High fastball, just the same pitch right down the middle, same one he hit the double on.
Murphy doubled to right center and scored a run in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 2. Minor about to throw his 85th pitch of the afternoon, and he misses a little high to Murph. Yesterday, the Mets worked Jair Jurgens to the point where Jurgens wound up throwing 102 pitches in 4 1/3 and taking an early exit. And Terry Collins was talking today about that being a big focal point for the Mets offense. It's not just about drawing walks, which the Mets led the league in last year. It's about getting those starting pitchers out of the game.
Both Tejada and Murphy faced over 50 pitches alone from Jurgens yesterday afternoon.
Breaking ball off the plate, 2-1 to Murphy.
No, with David Wright in the on deck circle, Murph lefty lefty. Come on, good pitch to hit right here, and you've earned the count because you've got a good eye at the plate. You've laid off 2 sliders that were close, so you're in a hitter's count.
And that's off the plate, and it's 3-1. Have you been surprised the way they've been playing Murphy in the outfield this series? I mean, Bourne is playing him like he's a left field hitter, and he's been doing it for 3 days. Murphy doubled to right center his last time, 3-1 from Minor, and he fouls it off.
I would be more inclined. I mean, to me, the ball down the line is going to be a double anyway, and maybe I would. I haven't got a problem with against a lefty, Bourne playing him, shading him in the opposite field. But I would gap more with Diaz, the left fielder. Take away more of Murph's gap. He's a gap-to-gap hitter. And that ball down the line, either line, is a double anyway.
Runners get set to go. 3-2 coming to Murphy. And he slashes one past the third baseman, Prado, for a base hit. That'll bring Nice home. Tejada to third. He's being waved around. The throw goes to second base. Not in time. A 2-run double for Daniel Murphy. And it's 4-0 New York.
Well, great at bat by Murph here, and staying away. That's just beautiful right there. Ball up, outer half, just out of the reach. That's a bullet.
Why did Diaz not throw this ball home to the cutoff guy?
I agree.
Now they'll walk David Wright intentionally and bring up Ike Davis with 2 men on. So after Minor struck out the first 2 batters of the inning, you have 2 out and nobody on, and a pitcher who hit .061 last year at the plate. Nice manages to find some small sliver of chalk dust down the left field line to get a 2-out rally started. Tejada follows with a hit. Murphy drives in a pair. Now Wright getting the intentional pass.
Well, we haven't seen too much of the bunting so far, but I know as a collective staff, the 5 guys that start for the Mets want to have a mindset of being more productive at the plate, and certainly Nice did it there.
Christian Martinez up in the bullpen for Atlanta. He pitched yesterday. Before that hit by Murphy, the Mets over this series had been just 2 for 18 with runners in scoring position. But Murph comes up with the big hit to drive in a pair. Mets with a 4-run lead, and now Davis up looking for more. Ike has struck out and walked today, 0 for 1. And he lifts this one to left field. Diaz with plenty of room. And that retires the side, but the Mets with a 2-out rally fueled by John Nice
Two men on for Daniel Murphy. Works the count full, and Murphy slashing. Drives home a pair. And now John Neese goes back to the mound with a 4-0 lead. Michael Bourn leads off in the 6th inning. John Neese now with a 4-run cushion. Braves looking for their first hit, third time around the batting order, and Bourn takes below the knees, 1-1. Bourne's been up twice and struck out both times, swinging in the first and then looking in the third when Neese dropped down and threw him a sidearm breaking ball to get him. Hit sharply, Murphy right in front of it. 1 out. That is 13 in a row retired by Jonathan Neese.
Nicely fielded by Murph. Murph is getting in front of the ball. Looks good fielding grounders.
The Braves drew a pair of walks in the first inning, Prado and Ugla. They got a leadoff walk to Diaz in the second, and Neese has not allowed a base runner since. Prado struck out in his second plate appearance, and he takes outside for ball 1. Neese has only recorded 2 outs on balls hit in the air today, and that comes as not a whole lot of a surprise. Last year, only 23.7% of Neese's outs came on balls hit in the air, which was the lowest rate in Mets history for a pitcher who'd thrown 150 innings. He was not always this radically a ground ball pitcher, but he has become one as his career has gone along. And that curveball bends in for a strike to Prado. 1-2.
That pitch up in the strike zone that he struck out McCann earlier in the game, that's a pitch he used to use more often. He doesn't use that as much. More down in the strike zone, result, or ground ball.
Chopper hit out to Murphy. Ball comes up for him nicely. 2 out. So 2 up and 2 set aside by Neese in the 6th. Time to check in with Chris Carlin for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. There's a guy who wears only one batting glove. We were talking about that the other day. Here's Brian McCann with 2 outs, and he lofts one foul and out of play. McCann 0 for 2 today, 0 for 9 to start the season. "14 straight retired by John Neese. And a fist foul out of play, and it's 0-2.
I remember McCann being
This aggressive. You know, usually he has a little better understanding of that ball in the strike zone. Usually lays off those high pitches.
0-2 from Nice, and he tries to drop down and stumbles. And let's see if he's okay.
No, he's all right.
Went into that Laredo motion that he used to get Bourne earlier in the game and came up empty.
It's a striking cricket.
It's a sticky wicket.
Ooh.
Well, for Nice, who suffered that horrific groin injury a couple of years ago, nice to see him smiling after stumbling.
This will be a traditional pitch here, overhand.
You think? Struck him out. High fastball from Nice. And he gets McCann to end the 6th. And so the drama begins to build. Nice with a no-hit bid through 6, and the Mets leading at 4-0. Jason Bay leads off the home 6th inning and takes ball 1 from Mike Minor. Bay drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 4th. 0 for 1 on the day. John Nice 88 pitches deep into his afternoon. And plenty to smile about.
That was pretty interesting, right? Murph talking to him.
Stay away, Murph.
Yes.
Leave him alone.
Do not talk to a guy who's
got a
you know what.
Yeah. Just like stay clear.
Well, I got a question for you, Ronnie.
Yeah.
It's Nice's first start of the year. He's thrown 88 pitches through 6 innings.
Don't even go there. I know what you're saying.
In this day and age, first start of the season, you know, you're working on pretty much a 100 pitch count.
You are working on a 100 pitch count, but if you had 2 guys on the staff that you would go, no, I'd say 3 maybe because of RA. But the 2 younger pitchers would be Pelfrey and Nice are the guys that you think could go 110, 115 into a game.
But 115 might not get you 9 innings.
I agree.
Not today. So if you're Terry Collins and your pitcher, you know, gets to that 8th or 9th inning with a chance to make some history, are you going to push him harder? Especially it's his first start. You just gave this guy a 5-year contract. Everybody's watching. It's got to be a very difficult decision to make.
It would be difficult for me, but I totally understand what you're saying.
I mean, if it were July, maybe it would be a little different consideration. I'm just raising the question because I think it's an interesting formulation in this day and age as Bay draws a leadoff walk. 4th walk given up by Minor. Tonight, go behind the scenes for a unique look at Thursday's Mets home opener, plus Daniel Murphy mic'd up at spring training on Mets Weekly, presented by WB Mason. Premieres tonight at 6 only on SNY. So the Mets have a leadoff base runner.
And now Lucas Duda, who's 0 for 2. David Wright's not ignoring him.
But he's not talking to him.
But you've been through this, Ronnie. You went into the 9th inning a couple of times. Don't guys move farther and farther away from you as you get further?
They don't want to be near you. They don't want to. You got the mojo working. They want to let it go. Let it continue.
David's got his vanishing cream on.
And I thought that was eye black. Duda hits it off the fists, and that'll go out of play. And Minor gets ahead 0-2. Lucas is taking a call third strike and flied out to center field. Meanwhile, Minor up over 100 pitches for the day, and the Braves have the bullpen working. Neither of the last 2 innings has been easy for Minor, who had a very strong first 3 innings. And Duda strokes one the other way for a base hit. So Lucas behind in the count 0-2, taking one to left, and the Mets have the first 2 men on in the bottom of the 6th, and that's going to be it for Mike Minor. Let's look at our AT&T trivia question. Who has hit the most home runs against the Braves in Mets history? You can chew on that for a while Freddie Gonzalez makes a pitching change. So after Jurgens went just 4 1/3 yesterday, Minor goes 5 innings plus today. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios as Christian Martinez comes in. We'll be right back. Brought to you by Twisted Tea, Hard Iced Tea. Where are we going for the twist today? Before yesterday, Jamie Moyer had faced more current managers than current Astros players.
That's a good one.
And he was beaten by those Astros last night at age 49. Christian Martinez, who pitched a 1-2-3 inning yesterday, comes back to pitch for the Braves today.
Amazing about that record in 46 games, 77 2/3 innings pitched for Martinez, who is their long man, one of their few long men.
Bay and Duda aboard with nobody out. Scott Hairston, the batter, 0 for 2 today, and he takes a strike on the inside. Mike Minor went 5 innings plus, allowed 6 hits, 4 runs so far, responsible for 2 more, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts in Minor's first start of the year. and getting no help at all from his offense, and that's been the story for the Braves throughout this series. The Mets have pitched brilliantly.
And he drives one deep toward the left field corner, off the fence on the fly. Day comes in to score. Duda goes to third. Scott Hairston with an RBI double. 5-0 New York. So Hairston greets Martinez rudely.
High ball hitter, and that's a little, you wanted to get a little sink in there, and that just stayed up, out over the middle, and this is a rocket here. Right there, he loves that ball belt high up.
So the Mets, who scored 5 runs total in the first 2 games, have 5 runs today, and a chance for more. Second and third, and nobody out for Mike Nickias as the infield comes in. And Mike takes lone away for ball 1. Nickias is grounded to third and struck out 0 for 2.
So Nickias in spring training working that right side in RBI situations. Let's see if he can still do that.
You'd love that doubly productive out. Bring the run in, get the other run over to third, even if you don't get a base hit.
Boy, Martinez is throwing the ball right down the middle. Better watch out.
John Neese, center of attention, on deck. One and 2 to Nickias. That's a strung together some really good at bats the last 2 innings. Remember, they had 2 out and nobody on in the 5th, and got a couple of runs. Now they've gotten the first 3 men aboard here in the 6th.
They've been very, very patient at the plate, showing a very good eye, but not giving up their aggressiveness. They're still in attack mode. They just got good eyes at the plate, this lineup.
Swing and a miss, and Nickias is down on strikes. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, he had the fastballs to hit. He misses the slider.
Nice ovation for John Neese as he gets set to take his turn. Neese had an opposite field hit his last time up and scored a run, and this time the infield comes all the way in.
I've never seen a first pitch change up to a pitcher. Change up is the hitting zone for a pitcher, right?
Especially if it's the first pitch. Nothing to change up from.
Jeez.
1-1 to Neese, who has 4 career runs batted in 118 career at bats. Ruben Tejada on deck. And now Martinez ahead 1-2. Now the 1-2 for Martinez, and Neese takes it high. Another changeup from the right-hander.
This guy throws a lot like the former Leo Nunez for the Marlins.
Juan Carlos Oviedo. And that's high. Another changeup, and it's 3-2.
Hard thrower with a changeup.
Duda at third, Hairston at second. And now Neese has run the count full against Christian Martinez. 3-2. And he struck him out with a changeup. How about that? Back-to-back strikeouts for Martinez. And now there are 2 out of the inning. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked which Met is at the most home runs against the Braves.
Ah, that makes sense.
David did a lot of hitting against the Braves early in his career, a little less so the last couple of years.
He struggled last year against the Braves.
Now Ruben Tejada, who's had a nice day at the plate, a single and a double. He scored 2 runs, 2 for 3 on the day. So now Nice can go back to the bench and rest up for his 7th inning. Mets with a run home here in the 6th. They had 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, but back-to-back strikeouts for Martinez. And now trying to get through it against Tejada, and he dents the outside corner. Daniel Murphy, who's had a big day, would be next.
And Tejada rockets one toward the left field line. Diaz won't get that, and that'll chase home 2 more. Duda and Hairston are in to score. Tejada dives in with a 2-run double, and the Mets have broken it open. It's 7-0. 3rd hit and 2nd double on the day for Ruben Tejada.
Nicely done, young man. Hanging slider. Shoulder in. Hanging. Oh, it's a changeup. Right on it. Another pitch down the middle, Ron.
So Tejada with a big offensive day, 3 for 4, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs. Here's Murphy, who has a pair of doubles and 2 RBIs as well. And he takes low and inside for ball 1. Now Murphy batting here in the bottom of the 6th. Nice is yet to allow a hit. Each of the first 2 games, Terry Collins has pulled Murphy for defense in the 9th. Would you be inclined after this at bat to take Murphy out for defense?
As long as he's got the potential no, maybe you would. Maybe you would.
You got a 7-run lead.
But maybe because of the no-hitter, you
that's
do
what
it.
I'm saying.
Yep.
That maybe you would because you have a big enough lead to justify it. 2-0 to Murph, and he slashes one foul.
I think there's a part of you that the people in the field have provided you with this lead. Murph has made 3 or 4 fine plays today. Do you want to have those guys who've been out there all day behind your pitcher if he has a chance to reach it? It's a hard thing to answer. I mean, they've taken him out for 1 inning. This will be 3.
Late swing foul, 2-2. Well, you might ask another question as well. Is Scott Hairston your best defensive center fielder? Would you consider bringing a Neuenhuis or a Baxter in? Would you take Duda out? Would you try and get your best defense in the field, or are you better off with veteran players late in the game?
I like veteran players because you know, the added pressure on a young guy to go out there and try to play not to make a mistake. That's a bad scenario.
Here's the 2-2, and it's off the corner and a full count to Murphy. All interesting questions that have to be roiling through Terry Collins' mind right now, in addition to that whole question about Nice, first start, pitch count, and all that.
Well, there's his bench coach, Bob Guerin, whispering in his ear as they're going over the different scenarios.
And Murphy hooks one, foul.
Almost had his 3rd double of the day.
Well, Martinez just doesn't throw inside enough. And he's very much in love with his changeup. From a left-hand hitter, he's got a fastball that fades away on an even plane, doesn't sink. Same action on his changeup. He has a hard time throwing inside. Boy, you can just go right up the middle and cover that plate on him.
Again, the 3-2, and Murphy grounds one right to Ugla. And that retires the side, but the Mets put up a 3 spot in the 6th. They now send John Nice out to the mound with a big lead, 7-0. John Neese takes the mound for the 7th inning. First Mets starter to get to the 7th with a no-hitter intact since R.A. Dickey last September against the Phillies. Dan Uggla first pitch swinging, yanks one foul, and it's 0-1. Uggla has drawn one of the 3 walks that Neese has issued. That came back in the 1st inning. But Neese has retired the last 15. Misses away with the fastball, and it's 1-1.
Call it a strike, Gary.
That was away, though, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
So he's getting a little help from Phil Cuzzy behind the plate, not for the first time today. Freddie Freeman on deck, and then Matt Diaz. 0-2 to Uggla, and he bounces it foul. John has walked 3, struck out 7. Misses away, 1-2.
Well, if you would have called that, Uggla would have been out of this game.
Here's the 1-2, and a late swing foul. From an Atlanta perspective, Keith, you know, you've lost the first 2 games of the series. You're getting thrashed 7-0 in this game. Does facing a pitcher who's working on a no-hitter give you a little extra incentive to keep your head in the game?
I think they're squeezing the bat a little bit tighter. I think they're feeling it.
Yeah, and the curveball sits high.
You know, I think that they're pressing. You know, it's not like you're in the middle of the season or you're in May or late April. You're starting out the blocks. It's almost like having your batting average up there at 170. When you're starting the season, you know, you go in a lot of slump. You go in a slump during the course of the season. It doesn't have the effect like opening day when you start from scratch.
But also, this is a team that had to answer all spring training long. What happened to the offense in September? What happened to it? And they say, hey, we're going to be better this year. And in your first game, you lose 1-0. Score 2 runs in the second game, and you get no hit going into the 7th.
2-2 to Uggla, and he just barely got a piece of that cutter to stay alive. So Uggla, if nothing else, making Neese work and throw a lot of pitches. First at bat in the 7th. He's already 8 pitches deep in the at bat. Again, the 2-2, and that's inside. A full count to Uggla. Well, the career high for Neese in terms of pitches thrown is 122. And here he is with nobody out in the 7th, already pushing toward 100. 3-2, and Uggla takes outside ball 4.
Wow, that was close.
So a number of borderline pitches in that at bat. One of them went Neese's way, but the last couple went Uggla's way.
It takes some guts to take it. It's a ball, but remember, he called that second strike.
That's right.
Was right there. He called it a strike.
And he called out Uggla before on a pitch like that.
So a 9-pitch at bat. And Uggla's aboard with the 4th walk that Neese has given up. And the Mets bullpen begins to stir. Freddie Freeman, the batter. And he hits it hard, a base hit. And so the Braves have their first hit of the game. Appreciation shown by the crowd here at Citi Field, well aware that the Mets have never had a no-hitter in their history. The 7,971st regular season game the Mets have played, just like every other one.
It's amazing, isn't it? An organization steeped in great pitching and not a no-no.
So now, how far are the Mets going to go with Neese now that the no-hitter is not a concern? Freddie Freeman breaking up the no-hit bid with nobody out in the 7th.
Setting up inside, fastball. It's in. He just down and turned on it.
Remember his last at bat, the ball was in. It jammed Freeman. He was ready this time for that pitch in. Smart hitter.
So now the Braves have the first 2 men on in the 7th, and Matt Diaz will step in. Diaz came the closest to a hit of any Brave before this inning, lining out to center field. Scott Hairston making a diving catch. Diaz has also drawn a walk, 0 for 1. Manny Acosta, who has not yet pitched in a game this season, getting ready in the Mets bullpen. And Diaz hits it out to right. Duda's right there. Uggla will tag at second, and Duda can't make the catch. Uggla goes to third. He'll be waved around, and he will score without a throw. So Duda having problems with the sun And Diaz's ball falls in, and the Braves are on the board. It's now 7-1.
Well, his mistake here, Gary, I think he had the ball. He saw it. He lost it the last minute. He backpedaled. He did not go. He's on his heels. And when you're on your heels, the ball starts bouncing. And I think he lost it late. And he's got to sidle after that ball. Run over with one shoulder looking back.
Well, we saw Michael Bourne do that this entire series. Get that ball on your shoulder.
It's an error charge to Duda, bringing home the first Atlanta run. Now first and third and nobody out. And time is called before Neese can throw a pitch to Jason Hayward. So a walk, a clean hit, and now an outfield error have produced a run for Atlanta. Neese up to 100 pitches on the afternoon. Hayward's 0 for 2, and he rockets one toward right center field. That's going to go up the gap and go to the wall. Freeman is in to score. Diaz being waved around. He'll head to the plate. Murphy's relay throw not nearly in time. It's a 2-run double for Jason Hayward, and just like that, the Braves are getting back in the ball game. It's 7-3. So a long battle for Neese, issuing the leadoff walk to Uggla, and now the Braves have put the next 3 pitches in play. Single, error, double. 2 runs coming in on the double by Hayward to make it 7-3 New York, and that's going to be all for John Neese. So Neese, who carried a no-hit bid into the 7th, sees it come apart in this inning. Manny Acosta in to make his first appearance of the season. Brought in to face Jack Wilson with a runner at second and nobody out. Well, John Neese carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning, but it got away quickly. 7,971 games, and that only counts the regular season. 1-1 to Wilson. Manny Acosta quietly had a very good year for the Mets last year.
47 games, 46 punch outs, and at the end of the year, you have to say he was their most dominant reliever.
Only 15 walks in those 47 innings.
He developed that split finger, and that gave him the pitch, I think, that the off-speed pitch that he needed. And he found his spot, too. He's really a middle reliever, and that's where he is now. And the bullpen now is revamped, the back end of the bullpen. And Manny now is in a position that he can come and pick up games in the middle.
With Acosta getting in a game, that means the only relief pitcher who has not been in for the Mets is Miguel Batista, who is slated to be the long man. 2-1 to Wilson, who's 0 for 2, couple of ground ball outs. There goes the runner, and Hayward steals third without a throw. So Hayward has the Braves' first stolen base of the season, and he's now at third base with nobody out. Got a huge jump against Acosta. Of course, if you're going to steal down 4 runs in the 7th, you better make it.
Well, there was no one near him, and he did make it. It was a smart move. They were pretty much giving it to him.
Eric Hinsky out on deck to pinch hit behind Wilson. 2-2 from Acosta, and the breaking ball hit out to left. Hayward tags as Bay retreats, and Hayward will come in with the 4th run of the inning. It's a sacrifice fly for Jack Wilson, and it's now 7-4 New York. So an inning that began looking like an easy win for the Mets and possible history for John Neese all of a sudden has tightened up considerably.
And that closes the book on John. That's 4 runs, 3 earned.
They had Eric Hinsky on deck, but with the bases empty, they're going to bring Jose Constanza up instead as a pinch hitter. So Constanza, who has appeared in all 3 games in this series, will get the turn at bat. Batting for Christian Martinez.
Made it out in yesterday's game trying to bunt on David Wright. David made a fine play. There's Tim Burdack in the bullpen.
In a Braves lineup that is loaded with left-handed bats, Burdack always at the ready. Swing and a miss. 0-1 to Constanza. It's interesting. You go into a season normally and you're thinking, okay, we need to have that lefty, especially for the Phillies. You don't need him so much for the Phillies anymore. You need him more for the Braves.
Yeah, because of Howard and Utley being out. Ibanez with the Yankees now.
Already with a home run under his belt.
That's right.
After a miserable spring training. Speaking of miserable, John's not very happy right now, despite being in line for a win.
I'll tell you exactly what he's thinking. Wait a minute. 15 minutes ago, had a chance at a no-no. Got a base hit, scored a run, top of the world. How did it get away?
He's still going to be William in the paper tomorrow.
Oh.
Good chance.
Okay, there you go.
That's always make you feel better.
Still 8 more outs for the bullpen to get. And that breaking ball in for a call, strike 3. So Constanza is down looking, and that's the 2nd out of the inning.
What a good breaking ball late. Backdoor. Nice pitching by Acosta.
So 2 out and nobody on. And now Michael Bourne.
Got long fingers, doesn't he?
If you showed that picture and asked the person that really follows the game closely, what do you think? What do you think that pitcher's line is? It wouldn't be what he had tonight with only 2 hits allowed.
Well, it means he has high standards.
That's exactly.
But what's the old line? The saddest words? What might have been?
That's right.
Michael Bourne is 0 for 3 today. And he takes a strike on the outside, and it's 0-2. Bourne has struck out twice and grounded out to second. Here's the 0-2 from Acosta, and he throws wide with a fastball. 96. Wow, 96.
He's got a good arm. I've always liked him, even when he was with the Braves.
Manny spent parts of 3 years with Atlanta before coming to the Mets 2 years ago. Now the 1-2. He struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Manny Acosta to finish off the Braves in the top of the 7th. 7th inning stretch time. 7-4 New York.
brought to you by Toyota. When you choose Toyota, you get a lot for less. Toyota. By Verizon Fios. Welcome to America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. Welcome to life on Fios. And by Citi. Visit Mets.com/Citi Chalk Talk to learn about a special 1-hour Chalk Talk with Sandy Alderson and Ron Darling on May the 5th. There are your Citi probables for tomorrow night as the Mets open their series with the Nationals. Mike Pelfrey makes his first start of the year against the newly acquired Edwin Jackson, the much-traveled Edwin Jackson, who once threw 149 pitches in a no-hitter. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, the Nationals come in here for a 3-game set starting tomorrow, guys. They've taken the first 2 games of their series in Chicago, both in comeback style, and losing today 1-0. That game's in the 5th inning. When you look at this team, we've talked about so many aspects of it, but you got to start at the top of the order. That's really the biggest question mark with Ian Desmond, Danny Espinosa. The first 2 games, they both were great. A combined 5 hits, 2 RBIs, a steal, and a couple of walks from that duo. Ed Desmond's 1 for 2. Espinosa 0 for 2 today. But really, can those guys set the table for the rest of the order with Zimmerman and LaRoche having a big game yesterday? You know, the other thing about this Nationals team, guys, we talk about Strasburg and this terrific bullpen. They've got a really solid veteran bench. You know, Chad Tracy, the ex-Diamondback, had a big hit yesterday. Xavier Nadeau starting in left field for them today. They've got the veteran Mark DeRosa. Got a lot of guys who know how to get a big hit late in the game, guys.
And the guy who maybe has been their best hitter the last year and a half, Michael Morris, who's been out with an injury the first weekend of the season, might be back as early as Tuesday for Washington. That obviously adds a lot to their lineup. David Wright leads off in the home 7th. Chris Medlin, the new Atlanta pitcher, misses low for ball 1.
Well, we saw him earlier in the series. He was so valuable. Underwent Tommy John surgery. He's a guy that can throw 4 pitches for strikes. Great control.
Went 2 innings in relief on opening day. Allowed no runs and 1 hit. And Wright takes a fastball for a strike. David had a sacrifice fly to get the Mets on the board in the first inning. Since then, he has walked twice, once intentionally. Now has 728 career runs batted in, just 5 behind Darryl Strawberry for the Mets club record. Taken high, 2-1. Mike Minor went 5 innings plus, charged with 6 runs and 6 hits. Christian Martinez an inning, 1 run, 2 hits. And now Medlin picking up in the 7th, with the Braves having shaved 4 runs off what once was a 7-0 Met lead. Wright slashes 1 foul, and it's 2-2. Ike Davis to follow, and then Jason Bay here in the bottom of the 7th. Medlin stands just 5'10". You don't see too many 5'10" right-handers on a major league mound. Little looper into shallow center, and that falls for a base hit. So David Wright's fine start continues. That's 6 hits and 9 at bats to begin the year.
Hey, when you got 2 strikes on you got to protect the plate, and they want to go away, but it comes inside, and David fights it off and muscles it out. That's good hitting.
So the Mets, who had 13 hits yesterday, have their 9th hit of this game. And here's Ike Davis, who's still looking for his first hit of the season. 0 for 2 and a walk today.
So, guys, as Ike Davis comes to play looking for a little offense of his own, you know, if SNY wants some additional reality programming, they can get it. Ike and Justin Turner are roomies in Manhattan this year. And Ike also has some connections. He got the 2 seats at the rehearsal for Saturday Night Live last night. They couldn't go to the live taping because it ended so late with the day game. But talking to Justin Turner about it, he said, man, it was awesome. Went in and they had the tape reserve seat with Davis on us in a packed house, even the rehearsal. And he said it was pretty cool. He said the most amazing thing about it is just how quickly they do the sets and the wardrobe and things like that. I mean, they have like a minute and they move everything around, and I said it was pretty high class. Of course, they also had seats right next to Kate Beckinsale. I'm sure that might have helped.
There's that curveball away that's giving Ike trouble right now.
You know, given Ike's dry sense of humor and Justin's playfulness, you could see them guest spotting in one of those SNL skits.
Yeah,
one of these days, maybe out of the audience and onto the stage.
Close play, and Wright gets the hand back in.
Guys, did you hear David Wright postgame yesterday about the Duda home run being the first home run over the new Citi Field fence?
Yeah, he said, I didn't need them to move the fences in. Mine went well beyond the old ones.
That was pretty great.
Because maybe Duda needs it. I don't know.
I think David knows exactly how strong Lucas Duda is.
Yeah.
Here's the 1-2 to Davis, and he wastes that one away. Kevin, I think that we saw a couple of examples of David's leadership skills yesterday. I think everything that he does to try and draw Lucas Duda out is a positive, and we also saw what he did with Ike Davis yesterday.
Yeah, and I asked David about that postgame last night, Gary, and I asked him why. You know, what goes through his mind? How does he decide to say something, you know? And he said, you know, for me, it was quite simple. I saw how frustrated Ike was getting, and we need him in the game. I mean, I just told him we need you in the game. And, you know, obviously, as we saw and David pointed out, look, next half inning, he bailed him out. I mean, David had a tough throw, and Ike made a great play. So, yeah, just perfect timing, and nice job by Wright.
1-2 to Davis, and it just misses inside 2-2.
Good. That was a good pitch right there. Everything away and soft. Popped him inside run. If it was a strike, he had him, and he missed. Now he can go back out.
And the breaking ball hits slowly down to first. Freeman with the turn. Perfect throw to second. Medlin covers, but not in time, and Ike beats it out. So they get the 3-6 force on Wright for the first out of the inning. You know, there's been so much conversation as we look at this last play, Freeman handling it nicely, about David's future with the team. Are they going to sign him long term? Would they seek to trade him? I go the other way. Well, the Mets have only had 3 captains in their history. Yeah. It's about time to name this kid captain, sign him for the long term.
Why not? I agree with you.
Jason Bay, the batter, with 1 out and 1 on. And he hits one toward the hole, a base hit. So Bay has his second hit of the season, and the Mets have 2 men on. And another double-digit hit game for the Mets. I mean, in many ways, David has been the de facto captain of this team for a couple of years now. He's now the longest tenured Met. And I think Chipper Jones put it best the other day. He said, when you get a guy who's a cornerstone player, you keep that cornerstone. And certainly the hot start that David's gotten off to doesn't hurt.
Oh, the way he's swinging the bat, it looks like the old David to me.
Davis at second, Bay at first with 1 out. Mets trying to add on now after the Braves sliced into the lead. Here's Duda, 1 for 3 on the day, and he takes ball 1. Duda struck out, fly out, and then behind in the count 0-2 against Minor in the 6th inning. He took one the other way for a base hit. That helped lead to a 3-run inning. And now Medlin behind him 2-0.
I tell you what, I am very impressed with this Met lineup today and their patience. It's not, patience is the wrong word. They all have good eyes at the plate. They are aggressive, ready to attack the ball. They don't swing at bad pitches, and they make the pitcher work. They're getting into hitters' counts. It's a recipe for success. And I can't just say today. It's been going on for all 3 games.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know, a lot of people have been focusing on Duda and his power. What they forget is that in, you know, better than half a season last year, he had a .370 on base percentage. So he has displayed very early in his career the ability to identify the pitches he can hit.
You're right, Keith. They did it the first 2 games, but they were 2 for 17 with runners in scoring position. Today it's just been the opposite. They have been getting those big hits.
2-run double for Murphy, 2-run double for Tejada.
I just like what I see from the lineup thus far. You know, this is a pretty good Brave pitching staff.
3-2 with 1 out. And it's inside, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So a couple of singles and now a walk to Duda, and the Mets have them loaded up against Medlin with Scott Hairston coming up. Hairston delivered a run-scoring double against Christian Martinez in the 6th inning. Davis now at third, Bay at second, and Duda at first with 1 out. 7-4 New York, 7th inning.
And the Braves playing back on the infield for the double play. Not in at the corners. Now that Freddie Freeman's moving in now a little bit. He's now in.
And a fastball strike from Medlin. Hairston getting the start in center field today against the left-hander. And after he got the double against the right-hander last time up, Terry leaving him in at this point to face Medlin. And now Medlin gets ahead of him 0-2. Scott has 1 career grand slam. Of course, we know he's got tons of power. Now the 0-2, and the breaking ball hit sharply off the glove of Prado. He's got a play at the plate, and he throws there for the force on Davis. Throw to third, and they double up Bay. Not sure why Jason stopped, but he did not run to third base, and so the Braves turn a double play to end the inning. It went off Prado's glove, and the runners had to freeze, so they got the easy force at home on Davis. But I'm not sure if Bay didn't realize what had transpired, because he was standing near the bag at second base, and they threw it back to third to double him up. 5-2-6 on the double play. 7-4 New York after 7. Eighth inning, 7-4 New York. Manny Acosta stays in for a second inning of work. Martin Prado takes a fastball for a strike. Let's see what happened to Jason Bay on that last play. Look at it after this next pitch to Prado. Sometimes you just can't foresee what's going to happen. As Prado hits one out to right, Duda, who lost one in the sun last inning, stays with this one and makes the play to retire Prado. 1 out.
Well, watch Jason right here. He thinks it's a line drive going to be caught, and 9 times out of 10 it is. He's diving back to the bag, and you know he's dead. Nothing you can do about that. Not a darn thing.
So they're able to get the out at home, then the out at third. And so the Mets unable to cash in on the bases loaded opportunity despite Hairston hitting a bullet.
What'd you say? Lucky the Mets had an out.
It could have been a triple play. But that's generally how triple plays happen.
You're right.
Weird stuff. Brian McCann still 0 for the series and 0 for the season. He's 0 for 3 today, 0 for 10 in the 3 games. Tim Burdack is up in the bullpen alongside John Roush, but Terry's staying with the right-hander Acosta to pitch to McCann. And McCann gets under one to right field. Back goes Duda onto the warning track right at the 375, and it's out of here. Brian McCann hits his first home run of the season, his first hit of the year, and it gets the Braves back to within 2. It's now 7-5. And so what once was a 7-run lead for the Mets is now getting a little more uncomfortable.
Boy, that ball carried, didn't it?
I thought he got it. He got under it a little bit, but he got it in the barrel of the bat. And Duda just runs out of room.
That is the first run allowed by the Mets bullpen. They've gone 8 1/3 to start the season without allowing a run. Wild swing by Ugla, 0-1. Acosta had retired his first 4 hitters before the McCann home run. And Ugla takes a fastball for a strike, 0-2. Ugla has walked twice, scored a run, also struck out. He's 0 for 1. Freddie Freeman on deck. We'll probably see Burdack to pitch to him. Off the end of the bat, still 0-2. The Braves have had only 3 hits in this game. Remember, they were held without a hit for the first 6 by John Neese. Scored 4 runs in the 7th. 2 of those were unearned, all charged to Neese. And now McCann's home run here in the 8th. Here's the 1-2. And the slider low and away, 2-2.
Mets have taken care of Ugla in this series thus far.
Just 1 hit and 8 at bats. Another slider misses, 3-2. Well, the Braves are trying to pull a rabbit out of their hat today. Down 7-0.
Really, Rocky?
(3-2). And Ugla tops one foul. Well, Ugla had a tremendous turn at bat in the 7th inning when Neese was working on the no-hitter, and he worked out a 9-pitch walk. Now he's having a similar turn at bat against Acosta here in the 8th, knowing that if he can get on base, the Braves will get the tying run to the plate. Again, the 3-2. And the breaking ball hit in the air to center field. Plenty of room there for Hairston. And there are 2 out. So Ugla retired. Let's check in with Chris Carlin for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, Chris. Meanwhile, Terry Collins making his way out to the mound. Tim Burdack will come in to face the left-hand hitter Freddie Freeman, with the Mets leading 7-5 in the 8th. We'll be right back. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Immediately after the game, get more than just the highlights, get the whole story. Join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda for a complete breakdown of today's game with exclusive interviews and live coverage of Terry Collins' post-game comments on WB Mason Post-Game Live today immediately after the game, only on SNY. Let's make a double switch. Neuenhuis comes in to play center field. He'll bat ninth. And on to pitch is Tim Burdack. He'll go in the 7th hole. Scott Hairston comes out.
Tim Burdack was one of the unsung heroes in game number 1. Came in and struck out Jose Constanza and Michael Bourne to get out of a tough situation in that game.
He'll come in here to face Freddie Freeman with 2 out and nobody on, with the Mets leading 7-5, a game they once led 7-0. Freeman got the first hit of the game for the Braves in the 7th off John Neese, a clean single to right. 1 for 3 on the day. And the first pitch breaking ball hit in the air to center field. Neuenhuis just into the game with Duda. They come together, and Duda held on to the ball. Well, that's how the inning ends. A near disaster. Those are 2 very large men coming together out in right center field. Little communication problem. Neuenhuis in his 2nd big league game, and Duda, no harm done. An opening sweep as Eric O'Flaherty makes his season debut.
Just have to look at one stat to see what kind of year he had. 0.98 ERA for O'Flaherty.
The lowest earned run average in Major League history for a pitcher who made at least 75 appearances. Mike Nickius leading off in the bottom of the 8th. Kirk Neuenhuis on deck, and then Ruben Tejada. And Nickius bounces 1 foul. You know, the other 2 guys, the young pitchers, Kimbrel and Venters, got a lot more of the attention. But O'Flaherty was every bit their equal last year.
8 earned runs in 73 2/3 innings.
It's pretty good, right? Wow. Only 21 walks, only 59 hits in those 73 2/3 innings. Little tapper. In comes Jack Wilson to field it. And he throws out Nickius 1 away. So Nickius retired, 1 out and nobody on. Now Neuenhuis, who avoided disaster with Duda out in right center after coming in for defense. Kirk made his big league debut yesterday and went 2 for 4. An infield hit and then a solid single to right. In Cincinnati, the Marlins led the Reds 5-4 going to the bottom of the ninth, but Jay Bruce hit his second home run of the game off Heath Bell, and the Reds tied that game up.
Boston went in front of Detroit 9-7.
Those play Buchholz for the Red Sox today.
Oh, look at Tampa Bay. Sweepage. Potential.
Up 2-0 on the Yankees in the sixth with Jeremy Hellickson on the mound. 1-2 now to Neuenhuis. Red Sox knocked Max Scherzer out in the third inning today. O'Flaherty had 1-2 on Neuenhuis. And Kirk goes down swinging for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night starting at 10:30. Knicks and Bulls have a day game. Rangers and Devils getting set for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And the Masters wraps up today in Augusta. All on Geico Sports Night tonight starting at 10:30. Only on SNY. Been a big day for Ruben Tejada. 3 for 4, a pair of doubles. He's driven in 2. He's scored 2. Well, in the Mets bullpen, Frank Francisco is getting ready. And Francisco will be attempting to do something that no Met has ever done before. And that is pick up a save each of the first 3 games of a season. First one was easy. Second one not quite as easy. And he'll have at least a 2-run lead to work with today.
And Tejada takes one the other way, and he has his 4th hit of the game. First career 4-hit game for Ruben Tejada.
Well, that's all Ruben has to do. Hit line drives. First 2 games hit a lot of fly balls, but today he's been right on top of that pitch. And the results.
So Tejada 2 singles, 2 doubles, a 4 for 5 afternoon. Now Daniel Murphy, who has a pair of doubles to his credit with a couple of RBIs. That's with 7 runs on 11 hits. And O'Flaherty misses inside. A ball and a strike.
Man, I've got to believe now with Murph getting his little at bat, he's going to be replaced probably by Cedeno for defense in this 2-run ball game.
Well, Terry's done that each of the first 2 games of the season. Brought in Cedeno for the 9th. McCann knocks down the breaking ball, and it's 2-1. Take a look at the Burger King Mets box score. Big numbers at the top for Tejada and Murphy today. Each of them has a 2-run double. Sacrifice flies for right and base. Scott Hairston an RBI double. 2-1 to Murphy. He hits one down to first where Freeman is there, and that retires the side. So Frank Francisco will try and become the first Met ever to get 3 saves in the first 3 games when we come back. Couldn't ask for better weather this weekend. Well, the Mets have not swept a series to start the season since '07, and they've never started the season with a 3-game sweep against a division opponent. And Terry said as early as the beginning of spring training that it was very important for this team to get off to a good start, particularly with the low outside expectations on this unit.
Well, I think a couple of things are at hand here. They've played miserably at home last season, so to open the season at home and start the way they want to start here, 2 wins and a possible third here, Francisco can close it, I think are great. And also, I think, they're a youngish kind of team, and I think they need that confidence of playing well, playing hard, taking great at bats, and getting wins.
They were beat up in spring training, a lot of negativity in the press, low expectations. I mean, a 3-game sweep here. It's only 3 games. It's still 1 day at a time. But, boy, what a start and what a boost.
And I think Terry, for the sake of his own stomach, didn't want to go through 5-13 the way the Mets started last year. Frank Francisco pitching, Juan Francisco pitch hitting, and a swing and a miss to start him off. Ronnie Cedeno comes into play second base. He'll bat 7th where the pitcher had been, and Francisco goes in the 2 spot as Murphy comes out of the game. The Franciscos faced each other yesterday. And Juan Francisco lifts one to shallow left where Jason Bay comes in. 1 away. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, see what's coming up on WB Mason post-game live. All right, guys, 2 outs to get now for Frank Francisco. It'll take on Jason Hayward, who drove in a couple of runs with a double his last time up. That was the last batter Nice faced in the 7th inning. And Francisco misses away with a fastball for ball 1. Managers have to learn about their pitchers, particularly their relief pitchers, and what they are capable of in terms of number of days in a row they can pitch. Whether they can pitch a 2nd inning, how many times you can get them up. Hayward pops one up, and Cedeno and Tejada look at each other. They come together, and Cedeno has the baseball. Well, that's the second near collision in as many innings for the Mets, but both have been no harm, no foul.
Well, maybe a foul, but no harm.
First it was Nieuwenhuis and Duda. Now Tejada and Cedeno. And just like that, the Braves are down to their final out.
I thought that was very interesting early in this series. Francisco pitched Hayward different than he pitched him right there. He went right after him inside. Early in the series, he used the split finger. So within a series, he's kind of changed how he's gone after the hitters to keep it fresh. We don't see that very often.
Jack Wilson, the batter. Eric Hinsky out on deck to pinch hit if Wilson can keep it going. Frank Francisco 1 out away. And Wilson takes it low for ball 1. By the way, the Reds pulled out that game over the Marlins. RBI infield hit by Scott Rowland, winning into the bottom of the 9th against Heath Bell after Jay Bruce's home run had tied the game. So Miami falls to 1-3. 1-0 to Wilson, and a dribbler foul, a ball and a strike. The Nationals come in tomorrow night. They're trailing in Chicago 2-1 in the 7th after winning their first 2 games. 2 night games, and then the Wednesday afternoon matchup between Santana and Strasburg. 1-1 to Wilson, and a fastball taken high, 2-1. That one's worth playing hooky for, no?
Yes.
Don't encourage.
I'm just mentioning, not encouraging.
I'm encouraging. Come on.
2-1, and Wilson fouls it back, and now the Braves are down to their final strike. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. The Mets sweep the Atlanta Braves.
begin the 2012 season with Frank Francisco saving all 3 games. The Mets built a 7-0 lead. They win it 7-5, and Terry Collins' team off to a hot start.
Well, Jonathan Nice was excellent in today's ball game before the game got away from him, and the no-hitter got away from him in the 7th inning. And the bullpen now in this series, 10 innings pitched, only 1 run allowed.
And offensively, the Mets again double digits with hits, 11 on the day, the big day for Tejada. Top of the order, accounted for 7 runs. They drove in 4 together, Tejada and Murphy. Tejada 4 for 5 with a double and 2 doubles and a single, 2 singles. Scored 2 runs. Murph with 2 doubles and a 2 RBI day. David Wright drives in another run. So all good offensively for the Mets.
First career 4-hit game for Ruben Tejada. Frank Francisco, the first Met ever to save each of the first 3 games of the season. And the Mets sweep an opening series for the first time since 2007 as they take 3 from the Braves and welcome in the Nationals tomorrow night. Big team effort for the Mets today as they beat Atlanta 7-5. On a day that began with John Nice flirting with history, Frank Francisco for the 3rd straight day ends it with a strikeout. Mets sweep the Braves. More coming up from Citi Field in just a moment.